The Specialized Tarmac is a thoroughbred race bike, and after much speculation, here it is in its latest incarnation, the SL8. Here's everything you need to know about the hotly anticipated bike, from the weights, the specs, a deep dive into those aero claims, and stick around until the end to see what it's going to cost you. The SL7 is arguably still one of the best road race bikes out there, but in the last 3 years, Specialized reckons that they've made it even better. Headline figures are that this is 15% lighter, 6% more compliant, has 33% improved stiffness to weight ratio, and is 16.6 seconds faster over 40k. That makes it even faster than the 2019 Venge, an out-and-out aero bike, and this is also the lightest frame in the World Tour peloton. Some pretty big claims then. We'll kick off with the weight claim, as without a wind tunnel, it's much easier to validate. The outgoing Tarmac SL7 has a claimed frame weight of 800 grams, which is certainly competitive. It's almost identical to the Colnago V4RS, lighter than a Pinarello Dogma, but a bit heavier than the recently released 770 gram Lab 71 Cannondale Super 6 Evo 4. I thought that this was the number that Spec was going to be gunning for, but what they've done is, well, they've blown it out the water. Specialized claim that in a size 56cm like this one, the frame weighs just 685 grams in its lightest satin carbon colorway. Yes, that is still 100 grams heavier than the Athos, but it's 100 grams lighter than most of the bikes that are its direct competitors. It's even 50 grams lighter than the recently released and very light Factor 02 VAM. In fact, you'd supposedly have to take away this much material from the SL7 to balance the scales with the SL8. So, how have they done it? Well, Specialized claim that they've taken all the Athos tech, focused on the down tube, seat tube and rear of the bike in particular, and then taken some of the layers of carbon away. Specialized says that the frame's shape carries load so efficiently that this carbon is redundant, and that the overall surface area of the frame is also reduced compared to the SL7 to save yet more material. Now, you might remember that when the SL7 launched, there were mutterings that the down tube was too thin and you could squeeze it. With even less material on this SL8, well, I guess there's only one thing to do really, isn't there? It feels like an SL7. Hopefully the Athos and the Crux have proven that a stupidly light bike isn't necessarily overly fragile. Even Specialized best optimists, ride science team, admit that saving all this weight results in fairly minor time savings, and the press release includes this graph. It shows that not only is the SL8 quicker than the Venge on the flat, but also faster than the SL7 across the board, albeit by fairly small amounts. For example, take this rather rare 60-minute climb at 10%, and you'll find that the SL8 is 16.2 seconds faster. Although even at these gradients, I calculate that the weight saving can only be responsible for around a quarter of that. Perhaps more important to riders like us trying to go faster for less effort are those aero claims then. Let's check them out. I can only apologise for my lack of wind tunnel, but it turns out they're fairly few and far between and horrendously expensive. In fact, renting a wind tunnel and all the clever people inside it to make it work will cost you anything from £300 to around £2,000 per hour. Oh, and then your travel, your prototypes and so on. Most brands are therefore fairly limited when it comes to wind tunnel time, and some of the smaller brands rely purely on CFD. That's computational fluid dynamics, or virtual aero testing if you like. Not Specialized though. Their bikes get developed in-house at their very own wind tunnel. And of course with computers too. Very powerful ones, supercomputers in fact. Now, I'm not saying that this makes their bikes any more aero than anyone else's, but whether you like Specialized or not, the wind tunnel is one hell of an ace to have in their arsenal. You might be thinking that the SL8 doesn't look very aero. And well, yeah, I tend to agree with you. There's no super deep down tube or even seat tube. Specialized tried to explain this to me by saying that these areas are in dirty air. It's turbulent because the free-flowing air in front of you has already got messed up by the bits of bike and body in front of them. So instead of focusing back here and compromising rear end comfort or weight, the most radical change compared to the SL7 is up at the front end. Dubbed the Speed Sniffer, what a name that is, this new head tube is to all intents and purposes a nose cone and much thinner at the front than just about any other road bike out there. There's also a thinner seat tube. In fact, this is the same width as the SL7 seat post, and these combined efforts result in a claimed watt saving of 4 when travelling at 40 kph. But it doesn't stop there. There's another 4 watts to be had by using the new Roval Rapide integrated cockpit. Of course, you could also slap that onto an SL7 or indeed any other bike. So maybe it would be better to just stick with the SL8 being 4 watts faster rather than 8. My only comment when it comes to Aero is this FlowViz paint. How cool does it look? I think Specialized should release a bike with a FlowViz inspired paint job. In a marketing bingo clean sweep, the Big S also claimed that the new bike is not only stiffer at the bottom bracket, but also more comfortable thanks to a more compliant rear end. 33% improved stiffness to weight certainly sounds like a huge improvement, but you have to remember that the new frame is about 12% lighter, which by my calculations makes the SL8 11% stiffer than its predecessor, ignoring any weight loss or gain. Specialized also claim that this is the most supple tarmac ever, with 6% more compliance when riding in the saddle. That's likely thanks to these drop seat stays, but I would argue that the tyres and pressures you run, they make a bigger difference when talking about rear end comfort. We're going to glance over geometry, but stick around for my first ride impressions because, well, it's claimed to be exactly the same as the SL7. Quick, stable, confidence inspiring, no complaints from me in this regard. If it ain't broke, don't fix it and all of that stuff. We spent quite a lot of time looking at this highest S-Works model, but just like most other recent Specialized road bikes, there is also a Pro and Expert models to choose from. The S-Works frame, as we've previously discussed, is the super light one. It is stupidly light and is available in either Shimano Dura-Race or Sram Red builds like we've got here. And those weigh in at 6.6 kilos and 6.8 kilos respectively, and will set you back a cool £12,000. That might sound like a bit of a kick in the teeth, but it's actually less than the current RRP of the SL7. So hopefully this is the first signs that the bike prices are returning to slightly more sensible levels. If you're looking to build up your own custom build, then a frame set like this one will set you back £4,750. And yes, I have done the maths, and yes, that is about £7 per gram. I don't know how that compares to drugs, but drugs might be the cheap option. The Pro and the Expert models use a slightly lower grade of carbon fibre, in fact 10R rather than 12R. And that means that the frame retains the same geometry and stiffness, but is a little heavier at 780 grams. That's still lighter than the S-Works SL7 frame and a very similar figure to the Lab 71 Super 6. All of the SL8s come with power meters from the factory, apart from the frame sets, of course. The Pro models weigh in at a smidge over the UCI weight limit, 7.2 kilos and 7.4 kilos respectively for the Di2 and ETAP models, and they'll set you back £8,000 for the full builds or £3,000 for the frame sets. The Pro models also get the SL7 stem and Rapide bar rather than that new integrated affair. And then the cheapest way to get your hands on an SL8 is with the Expert model. These will set you back £6,000, and the SRAM Rival AXS equipped bikes weigh in at 7.7 kilos, which is still pretty impressive. This one comes with the SL7 stem but an aluminium bar. So what was it like to ride? It was very wet. But the bike, very impressive. Could you notice 4 watts faster or 8 watts faster with this cockpit? No, not really. Could I notice the more compliant rear end? Also not really, although I'm confident that it is better. The one thing that stood out to me was the bottom bracket stiffness. Out the saddle, this felt a lot more impressive and reactive than my SL7, and that's no mean feat. The SL7 is a wicked bike to ride, and this just feels, well, really lively. Other than that, all the handling is exactly the same, so as you might expect, it rides very similarly. There's a few changes in setup to my own bike that I would make and will make when I get this on long-term review, and yeah, you'll have to look out for the long-term review on the road.cc website. So what have we missed? It's still got a BSA 68mm threaded bottom bracket. You can still get a little cover if you want to run it one by. Oh, there's still a generous 32mm of tyre clearance. That's a fairly major thing actually. It's still electronic group set and disc brake only. There's 4 seat post options, 2 different lengths, and either the standard 15mm setback or the 0mm setback options like all the pros seem to use. Max chainring size is 55/42 tooth, and yeah, I reckon that's just about everything. Oh, and the through axles look like they're the ones straight off the Athos, so a little bit lighter than on the old SL7. In a word, yes, the SL7 has an enviable reputation within even the highest echelons of cycling, and the SL8 does indeed look to be an improvement. In the real world, that lower weight will likely only have a marginal effect, but to achieve it whilst also making the frame more aero is quite the achievement. I do, however, think that the direction that this SL8 has taken does leave the doorway to seeing a new Venge in coming years very much open. Obviously, it's impossible to give much judgment until we get some proper rides in on the new bike, but with the proven geometry and the fact that this is realistically an evolution rather than a revolution, it bodes very well. In a way, I'm kind of disappointed. The spy shots that emerged a few weeks ago just weren't doing it for me. But this real deal, well, it's just that. It's surely the new benchmark of the World Tour, and it's going to take quite some beating. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, as well as any questions you'd like us to put to Specialized. As always, please give this video a like if you found this content interesting, and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest tech news and our upcoming comparisons between this and its competitors. We'll see you then.